You need to work harder, work longer hours, try more. That's the most expensive wrong answer in your entire practice because you cannot outwork a broken design. Let's explore that. Welcome to the Free Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Miles. It's 7 in the evening. The office has gone quiet. You've been at it since before most people were even awake, and every hour of the day felt like a sprint. Then you open your time entries to close out the day, and you count 4 billable hours, maybe 5. But you sit there and you try to figure out what happened. You try to reconcile the exhaustion in your body with that small number on the screen, and the two just do not match. So frustrated. If you've ever had that moment, you already know the feeling I'm talking about. It's that work that never makes it to your page. The distance between how hard you work and how much of that work actually showed up where it counts. Every managing partner I know has lived inside that gap at some point. And almost none of them have named it out loud because the cause is not what most accomplished attorneys assume. Today I want to tell you about an attorney I will call Marcus and about the day his whole relationship to his time, to his day, changed. So this episode will be for you if you are one of those attorneys, like so many, who works a full, intense day and you just can't account for where your billable time went. Or you've quietly wondered whether the answer is simply to work harder, and that has not helped. If you're expected, in demand, and pulled into 10 different directions before you've touched your most important work. Or if you suspect the exhaustion you feel at the end of your day is telling you something you don't have time to hear. And if you think the answer is simply more hours, this episode will probably annoy you, but listen anyway. By the end of these 20 minutes, you will understand why the gap between the hours you work and the hours you capture is not a discipline problem. It's a design problem. And you will leave with one move you can run tomorrow morning to feel the difference for yourself. Marcus's number was low despite his effort, not because of a lack of it. Marcus is a really good lawyer, experienced, talented, dedicated, hardworking, highly skilled. Truly one of the hardest workers in his firm. His effort has never been in question. He tries hard, he works hard, he's very, very diligent. And when he sees that his productivity, his output, his time doesn't reflect the number of hours he was at work, what's his natural instinct? Same as what I've seen with so many other successful attorneys. It's to work harder, be more disciplined, grind more. But that very reflex is the reason the shortfall never closes, because you cannot outwork a broken design. And this applies just as well to attorneys who don't bill their hours to, for example, a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer. I have one of those lawyers who this system has worked with amazingly. He felt like a human punching bag. He was completely overstressed, not getting his work done until he did what we talk about in today's episode. And he felt like a lawyer again. He wanted to be a lawyer again. He was getting the work on his most important files done. So if you work contingency or flat fee and don't bill by the hour, this isn't about billing. It's about the experience of a day that runs you. For some people, the billed hours are just a scorecard that everyone can see. But for you who don't bill by the hours, it's a measure of your productivity and your output and getting your most important work done. Think of a client you may represent who runs a business and Money is just disappearing. He can't figure out where it went. You would not tell that client to work harder, sell harder, while money pours out of a hole in the floor. You would recommend your client find the hole. But for us, we abandon that clear thinking with respect to our own day. We try to work harder instead of figuring out where did the time go. Marcus' thin timesheet, his lack of productive hours, was never evidence of weakness. It was a cost of being good enough that everyone in the firm wanted a piece of him. So if effort is not the problem, I have to ask an uncomfortable question. Who has the widest gap of all? Unfortunately, the better you are, the wider your gap tends to be, and the harder it is to manage it. Success does not protect you from that gap. In fact, your success is what creates it. This is the cruel logic. The merely competent attorney, they're left alone to work. No one really wants them or needs them. Clients aren't pestering them. But it's the exceptional lawyer, the truly successful one. That lawyer becomes a shared resource everyone feels free to draw on. The office manager, the associate, the department head, the client who wants only that lawyer. And there are three drains that affect that lawyer in almost every circumstance and as a sequence. First is switching from the task we're working on to handling that quick interruption, the time when your associate pokes his head on the door or the office manager needs an answer to a vendor question. So what do? We switch from drafting that motion for summary judgment where we were deep in our thought and our analysis. We switch to answer that question. And every time we pay a tax to reload our focus, every time we jump tracks. And on any given event, a single interruption might not be discernible. But across an entire day, it's enormous. Every one of those times you switch out of doing your focus work to handle something else quick, a quick interruption. What we often do not account for is the length of time it takes us to get back to where we were, to figure out what our thought process was, what page of the transcript we're going to refer to, what exhibit we're going to use. And it also leads to perhaps lower quality work. That's the first drain. The second drain is our unstructured reactivity. We begin our day by opening our inbox. I did a poll. Over 90% of the attorneys, that's the first thing they do. They open their email inbox. And what happens then? Your inbox tells you what to do. That's not a plan. That's a surrender. And then the phone rings, and then our junior partner has a question. And what happens is the urgent crowds out the valuable. And the valuable is usually the most productive. It's what moves the game. It's what gets your plaintiff's case moving or your time billed and work done. The time you had meant to work on that gets eliminated. And the third drain is the absence of a decision. We create a to-do list, but that's not a structure. It tells you what you need to do, but it never tells you when you need to do it, in what order you want to do it, or protected from what? Protected that task from what interruptions. And these three drains work together in a way that can be devastating to our productivity in our day. We're working on that draft of the motion for summary judgment. We're interrupted. We try to get back to it. Then we have a question from someone who pops their head in from the hallway. We go back to the draft, losing our place yet again. Can't find the thread. We're pulled away again when a client calls. And out of the first 90 minutes, we've worked 20 real minutes. None of it is finished. The rest of it, none of it is billable. See, the hours did not vanish due to your laziness. They drained through a day with no architecture, no system to hold the work in place. And once you can see the drain, the fix stops being about willpower and it starts being about design. So let me show you what a day looks like when it's actually built. We'll show you one move of a structured day that can make a huge difference. And this is the key. The difference is not that you do more things. It's that you decide in advance which work gets your best hours, your most productive hours, and you decide to protect them. So with Marcus, one day, I worked with him one-on-one. I gave him a set of tools and strategies he had never seen and had never considered, and nothing was theoretical. I won't explain the full system in this podcast, it would take too long. The architecture is in my Elite Lawyers Productivity course. But I'll give you one example of one thing we did that really worked for Marcus. I had him block out the first 90 minutes of every single day that he wasn't in court. He's a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer. To do his highest value work, to pick the file that needed effort. It needed to be moved along, and save that 90 minutes to work on that file exclusively, without interruptions from his staff. His paralegal was trained not to interrupt him. He let the calls ring. He closed his email. That was the first thing he did, 90 minutes. That's all. No hallway questions, no inbox, nothing. 90 minutes, one matter, before the building wakes up and starts making claims on his day. And that block is not the system. It's just one piece of a much larger, more effective architecture. But in a single morning, it will show you how much of your best work has been getting done late. In whatever minutes were left, after everyone else took their share of your morning. And this is the key. This is not about being rigid or close your door and being isolated. That's not the concept. What it is about is deciding what runs your day and who runs your day. That you run your day on purpose and with intention. And when your structure runs the day, you capture your work. You advance those files. When everyone else runs it, the day runs you, and the time runs out first. So before I tell you what that one block did to Marcus in his day, I want to give you a way to find your own drains. You just heard the one move, just one part of the system. But here's how to see where the rest of your day is going. I built the attorney's productivity power assessment for exactly this purpose. It takes only a few minutes, and it shows you where your day is leaking time that you're never getting back. You can find it at GaryMiles.net, or it's a link in the show notes. Do it this week, before the next full day gets away from you. So let's talk about how Marcus's day ended. And I'll talk to you about the calmness he felt at the end of the day, not as performance data, but about how he really felt about that day practicing law. He told me he left the day calm. He felt at ease. He felt relaxed. He enjoyed his work. He wasn't drained. He wasn't wired. He wasn't depleted. In fact, it was his most productive, satisfying, and fulfilling workday he could remember. And what struck him most was there was no grinding, no effort, no hard work. It was all natural. It flowed. It was purposeful. That behind all day feeling, losing the time, not knowing where it went, that was gone. And that feeling drained at day's end truly is a signal you spent the day fighting your own structure. Because when the structure holds, that fight disappears. And of everything, that's the most important lesson Marcus learned. That if you have a structure, you can enjoy practicing law again. You can get so much of your important work done, your work that requires only your talent and your effort. And at the end of the day, you feel productive, fulfilled, and satisfied. But as further proof, as further evidence, the amazing thing was the amount of hours that Marcus billed. Instead of only 4 or 5 hours, in that one day he had 10.3 hours. And he wasn't squeezing more out of himself. He was just capturing the work he was already doing. And you may say to me, oh, Gary, that's ridiculous. That's only one day. Anybody can have one good day billing. I've had a good day billing. True. One good day in itself proves nothing And that's true if the day ran solely on willpower, because your willpower will regress the moment you're tired or fatigued or distracted. But in this case with Marcus, willpower didn't produce that number. A structure did, a new structure that he applied and worked. And a structural change does not fade at the end of the week because there's nothing to sustain by force. A day built differently stays built. See, this was a design problem, and you can change your design in an afternoon. Your mastery will deepen over time, but the proof will show up on day one. Which brings us all the way back to that 7 o'clock moment we started with. So remember where we started tonight. 7 in the evening. Office quiet. The number on the screen doesn't match the exhaustion you feel. Your body is drained and depleted and tired and frustrated. But I want you to read that moment differently now. That gap is not proof that you're falling short. It's not proof that you're not working hard enough because you are. It's not proof that you're not talented enough because you are. It's proof that your system is missing. You spent decades building the effort. You've had it the whole time. What you may have never been given is a structure that lets it show up on the page. So here's what I want you to do tomorrow. Just one simple change. It's one part of the system. Take your first 90 minutes and give them to your single most valuable piece of work. Keep your inbox closed until you're done. Do not take any calls. Do not allow any interruptions. That's my whole ask. One block of 90 minutes working on your most important file, and see what that shows you. See, the effort was never your problem. And the design is entirely within your power to change. So as always, practice law with purpose and live your life with freedom. And one more thing before we end. If that one block makes you wonder what happens when the entire day is built that way, that's exactly the right question. And it's a question my coaching work exists to answer. If you want to have that conversation, book a call with me at GaryMiles.net or on the link in the show notes. There'll be no pressure, no pitch, just two attorneys talking about what your day could actually look like. Thank you for being with me today. Have a great day, and I'll see you next week.